Welcome everyone to Color Commentary. We are your popper commentators, Michael Petchik and Adrian Guarzales. How's it going, Adrian?
Oh, good. Did you like that? I took it back to the classic. I didn't try and mix it up this week. It's just a normal one. It's been a while since we've had a normal one.
So Amonkhet is out. I went to the pre-release. It was a fun time. Set's cool.
Yeah, and you got a lot of great value. Maybe not in your pool, but you did manage to trade for a bunch of legacy stuff you wanted.
Yeah, I will actually be honest. My pool, I think the most expensive thing was the pre-release promo, and it was a foil, one of the dual cyclers.
I mean, that's actually kind of a big deal. I feel like that could retain value in the long run.
It could. The land types are cool, but the fact that it doesn't ETB untapped ever is kind of a buzzkill.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh no, I did also open the Big Dumb Angel, and I traded it off immediately for stuff that will not devalue in the next 2 days.
Yeah, good call.
But yeah,
I did not go to pre-release.
Yeah, the pre-release was pretty solid. We've already had 3 cards from the new set show up in Pauper in 5.0 lists.
Oh yeah, what are they?
We got the white cartouche, the green cartouche, and then, God, let me just find this because I don't even remember the name of the card. I know what it does, but the
cartouches we knew were going to be good. Those are like maybe not slam dunks for Boggles, but they're new cards that go in the deck and people want to play them.
Yeah. The other one is today a deck went 5.0, or yesterday, I guess, with Bloodlust Inciter, which is red for a 1/1. Tap, target creature gains haste until end of turn.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Doesn't Pauper have better versions of that effect?
Wait. Let me hit you with this. It was also in a deck with Goblin Chiridian.
I think wait, what? I'm going to have to look at this deck list later. Why aren't we covering that deck today?
Because it's just Izzet Blitz with a haste enabler and a regeneration creature. That's it.
Oh. That's bizarre, but cool. Yeah. That's so weird because that deck wants spells.
Yeah, but it's also cut Delver entirely.
Oh, well, I know that those lists have sort of evolved towards playing Augur Bolus, which I actually do like because it sets you up for your combo turns. Although, Delver's a great source of damage too, but I just can't imagine cutting Delver for Goblin Chiridian. I don't know. That's cool.
But those are the 3 cards that have already seen play. I have a feeling we're eventually going to see Horror of the Broken Lands once someone figures out where you put it in a Tordax list.
Yeah, that card's busted.
I did also get sent Aaron, not Aaron who's been on the show, but other Aaron who we're both friends with, sent me a list that was basically all the cycling creatures, Horror of the Broken Lands, and then what is it? Rite of Consumption.
My God.
So you just cycle through your entire hand and fling a gigantic Horror of the Broken Sands at your opponent.
I don't hate that.
That's fair.
Street Wraith. You can play Street Wraith in that deck.
I think he was. I think he was basically playing the creature package for Ad Nauseum Living End in Modern.
Yeah, sweet.
All right, but people aren't here to listen to us, jaw on about other formats. It's Pauper time.
Yeah.
Today's deck is.
Wait, do we have an important announcement?
Oh, we do. I completely forgot. I got super businessy.
We've been doing it so long. We've been doing color commentary for a year today.
Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly to the day. I'd have to look that one up.
To the episode, theoretically.
Yeah, this is the 52nd week that we have been doing stuff for color commentary. We've taken 2 weeks where we did not have episodes, and there was the week that we did the Rags to Riches tournament, and we streamed all day. And this is episode 49, so that brings us up to an even 52.
Well, Mike, I didn't think we'd make it this far, but we did. So there you go.
Yeah, I had to renew the domain for our website the other day, and doesn't really speak, a whole lot of faith in the fact that I only signed up for a year and did not set it to auto renew. But we got there.
Yeah, we got there. All right, Deck Tech.
This week, it is a Sultai Zubera's list. This was sent in by a user who has various handles in various forums, but I'm going to go with his Mitgo handle, which is Model Cadet. I played against him in Aaron Kane's Pauperpalooza. There was a video of me losing to Zubera's after keeping some particularly atrocious hands, and this is the deck list in question. So we're taking a quick trip over to Kamigawa land. Let's just get into it. Well, do we want to get into it, or do we want to just talk about what a Zubera is?
Let's talk about what a Zubera is first. Just because I think it'll be easier to go into it. So a Zubera is a type of spirit from Kamigawa, and most of them, not all of them, there actually is one that does not have this effect. Whenever it dies, you do something for each Zubera that had died that turn. Or actually, there are two that are worded a little differently, and those are actually two uncommons. But basically, the Zuberas are, they're like a kind of a tribe. They do things when they die.
Yeah. There's a tribal synergy there, but perhaps not you're not building like a tribal commander deck out of these guys,
right? But let's take one of the Zuberas. Let's take Ashen Skin Zubera, which is in this deck. When it dies, target opponent discards a card for each Zubera that died this turn.
Okay, that seems like a potentially powerful effect. It's a 1 and a black for a 1/2, which isn't stellar, but the ability to force your opponent to discard stuff whenever this thing dies is pretty solid.
Instant speed discard is never bad because what we're doing is we're pairing these Zuberas with 4 copies of Carrion Feeder and 3 copies of Viscera Seer. Both are black 1-drops. They are 1/1s. Carrion Feeder has, it can't block, but it has sacrifice a creature. It gets +1/+1 till end of turn. And Viscera Seer is sacrifice a creature, scry 1. So you're able to chain together turns where you sacrifice a ton of Zuberas. And we also actually, I skipped one, have a sack outlet and Plagued Rusalka, which is another spirit. And I believe you actually have to pay black to sacrifice with that one.
Yep. Plagued Rusalka gives stuff -1/-1 until end of turn, and minor correction there. Carrion Feeder gets counters, not until end of turn.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. My minor flub up there. But yeah, this is...
So you have 9 sack outlets.
Yeah. The one of these that I am the least excited about is Plagued Rusalka. I get that it turns your stuff into pseudo removal, but having to keep mana open to have access to that ability is a little rough.
Right. So, do you want to cover the Zuberas?
Yeah. So we have Ashen Skin Zubera, which is 1 and a black for a 1/2. Whenever it dies, an opponent discards a card for each Zubera that died. Pretty solid. Then we have 4 copies of Dripping Tongue Zubera, which is 1 and a green for a 1/2. When it's put into graveyard. Oh, excuse me. When it dies, let's get the current modern formatting. Put a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token without flying of note for each Zubera creature put into a graveyard from play this turn. So this guy just is arguably the best version of Blister Pod. Just kind of dies and leaves behind a bunch of other bodies.
It is insane in this deck, and then you can also sacrifice those spirits to your Carrion Feeder also.
And then we've got 4 copies of Floating Dream Zubera, which is 1 and a blue for a 1/2. And when it's put into when it dies, draw a card for each Zubera that died this turn. So man, the sequencing on these is kind of tricky because all these effects are good. Although I guess technically the abilities go on the stack, so you can just pop them all at once. Like you have 1 of each, you can pop them all at once and get 3 X = 3 on each of these effects.
I will also say I want to mention the other 2. The red one deals damage equal to creature or player equal to the number of Zuberas that have died, and the white one is gain 2 life for each Zubera who died. Just so you know, it's always equal to the number of Zuberas, except for these 2 weird uncommon ones.
Really, the red one is creature or player. That seems particularly strong for Kamigawa.
There are versions of this deck that are not Sultai. I have seen the Ember Fist one in a deck, and I believe it was played at the Pats Rags tournament.
Gotcha. So we've got this cool little package of, from an objective perspective, would you put this above or below the usual package of sacrifice fodder in an aristocrat style deck?
Well, they're just very different. This is a deck that wants to chain together for a lot of value, draw cards, kill creatures like Rasulka, then build. I don't know. It's just, it feels like they're like, I feel like I am actually describing black green now that I keep going, but I feel like black green is less of this synergy deck and more of like this value deck. I don't really know. You know what I'm saying? Does this make sense?
Yeah, because this deck, if one of these dies on its own, that's fine. And you get rewarded for it. It's not like if your opponent edicts you feel pretty fine about sacking one of these things, but you really kind of want sort of a critical mass. Whereas the black green aristocrats deck kind of just wants to, sacrifice stuff as necessary.
It wants to make 3/3s and get young wolf back, and maybe make a mana off of blister pod, and it's just not. Yeah, the decks feel very different to me.
Yeah, and then rounding out the creatures, we've got 2 copies of Crypt Rats, which is 2 and a black, for a 1/1. Pay X, deal X damage to each creature and each player, and spend only black mana on X. Really solid Wrath effect, probably one of the better ones that we have in this format. And then we got 4 copies of Muldrifter, the good old tired classic that really helps a lot of weird 3-color decks kind of come together when blue is one of their options.
Hello Pig Trinket, our pet deck.
Yep. In terms of spells, we've got what people might be expecting here. We got 4 copies of Undying Evil, which is black, target creature gains Undying until end of turn, and 4 copies of Unearth, which is black, return a creature with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to play, and then 1 copy of Pulse of Marasa.
And I will say Undying Evil and Unearth will really help chain together like a big Zubera turn, because you can, before you sack the Zubera, give it Undying so that you can do it again, or you could unearth a Zubera you had previously sacrificed in order to get another Zubera out of the deal. Like, I feel like these really help, in addition to just being value cards, really help you achieve a lot of value out of your Zuberas.
Now, let me hit you with something. Last week was it last week? No, it was 2 weeks ago. When we did the full set review, we had a black card in there whose name is escaping me, and so I'm looking it up right now, that is very similar to Undying Evil.
Yeah, it doesn't give it Undying, it gives it returns back to the battlefield tapped.
Yeah. Supernatural Stamina, but it gives +2/+0. Do you think that this is possibly a contender? Because you can, for example, a hand with multiple copies of Undying Evil can't really abuse it on one target, whereas Supernatural Stamina you can just kind of chain them together if you so desire.
That's actually really interesting. I think that would be better in this deck because, you don't care about the counter, I feel like, unless it's like Muldrifter maybe that you're doing Undying Evil on. But
sure,
I don't know. That seems fine to me, giving it the counter for a little bit, for being able to reuse your Zuberas. Much in the way that a certain other deck we talked about uses cards. Never mind. I can't talk about that game on the show.
I'm just saying, one of the effects on these Zuberas is draw a card. So it's not impossible to imagine that you draw into another copy of whichever one of these don't die this turn spells you choose to go with. So Supernatural Stamina might be a decent fit for this deck, and I don't think the returns to battlefield the tapped part really matters. But yeah, I think those are all solid picks here. Pulse of Marasa, big game, always just pretty solid card.
Good card.
Rounding out our non-lands in the main deck, we've got 4 copies of Springleaf Drum, which rarely gets seen outside of Affinity.
I imagine it's just to make sure you hit your colors on time.
Yeah,
It-
and you got a
Yeah.
token producer, so this could be worse, right?
We're also not running any duels in the mana base, which are 4 Ash Barrens, 1 Forest, 4 Holdout Settlement, which is the land version of Springleaf Drum, 1 Island, and 10 Swamps.
All right, would you make tweaks to this? Because to me, man, I can't. The 1 Forest and 1 Island seems a little extreme.
I think, well, the Ash Barrens make that work, in my opinion. I think I tend to favor the gain lands a little bit more than maybe some of these lands. Like, I could see maybe the holdout settlements being some black, blue, or black, green gain lands, if since black is important to us.
Yeah, I definitely think if
And
this
also-
goes towards the duels, like this is definitely a black centric deck, and you definitely want those as a priority.
But I can see the argument for the holdout settlements. Maybe since you're playing so many creatures, there's 27 creatures. Like, it's going to be very rare that card doesn't tap for the color mana you need.
Yeah, that is a fair statement, and I feel like if your opponent's already locked you out of the game early game, you might have a hard time getting back into it. So
Right.
Yeah,
I think it's defensible.
Yeah. Sideboard, 2 Duress, a Sylvok Lifestaff, 2 Thought Picker Witch.
I love that that's in the sideboard. One of our very first deck techs was over Thought Picker Witch combo.
I think it was
Thought Picker
actually the
Witch.
first.
Maybe, yeah, because I don't think we did a deck tech in the very first episode.
We didn't. Yeah, I think this was the first one. Yeah. Why don't you tell the lovely folks at home what Thought Picker Witch does?
Thought Picker Witch is B for a 1/1. 1, sacrifice a creature. Look at the top 2 cards of target opponent's library, then remove one of them from the game. So it's a very slow way of controlling your opponent's draws and milling. And if you're playing it with Zubera, so it's like, oh, I'll sacrifice my Zubera, draw a card, and then look at these cards on your deck, and like you get the worst 2, and then you can chain those together.
Yeah. This seems pretty solid in your grindier matchups, although with teachings kind of out of the picture, I'm not sure really where that really comes into play, but
yeah, this deck is pre Burning Tree Emissary. I'd be curious to see how it stacks up now and what, if any, changes have been made.
yeah. I'm seeing 2 copies Diabolic Edict, 2 copies Gleeful Sabotage, a Tangle, another copy of Cryptrats and Pulsamarasa, a Vulturous Haven, and Ingot Chewer, which is, I like Ingot Chewer in this list. Anything that you can evoke and then before it dies, sack to any of your numerous sack outlets is kind of neat.
I would like to mention Vulture's Haven because it's another sack outlet. It's a 4-drop, 3 and a black for a 2/3 bird shaman with flying. Exploit. When it exploits a creature, you draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life.
Yeah, so this is arguably the worst Muldrifter, but still a Muldrifter, kind of, almost, maybe.
Well, you chain it with your Zuberas.
Yeah.
So that's, seems good.
All right. So out of this whole deck, is there anything you could think of that maybe we could suggest would be interesting to try out besides the red Zubera, which I think is super interesting?
What about, and hear me out, what about Battlefield Scrounger?
Okay.
You just keep putting Zuberas back on the bottom of your deck. You just keep putting back on the bottom of your deck. Also,
can you go
I'm
infinite
interested
like
to
that?
See what Model Cadet thinks of Into the Horde Swarm or Wretched Griff. Those seem like they might be pretty good.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely see that. It of the Horde Swarm, I think I like a little bit more just because it's going to give you those 2 extra bodies that you can also sacrifice, and is itself a 4/4, which is a pretty decent body in this format.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I definitely think all of those merit at least a look. Although I got to admit, the emerge creatures appeal less to me as soon as I kind of examine the curve. Like, we've got Muldrifter, but apart from that, you're not getting much of a discount.
That's true.
But interesting thoughts here. In terms of cost, this is one of these weird examples where the deck costs almost exactly the same online and in paper. Online, it is $38.01, and in paper, it is $38.52 at time of recording. This, I can't, I think the deck is neat. I can't very well advocate someone going out and like buying this as part of a collection building attempt.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the list. It's great. But yeah, you're right. There are some things in here, unearths aren't terrible. They're played in mono black. They're pretty pricey on this list. Crypt Rats is a pretty good card just to own. And then Ash Barrens is, one of the best lands in the format. So that's like a pretty good chunk of the deck.
Yeah, there's some overlap here and there, but nothing that really like sees a lot of play in some sort of like high tier lists. So
yeah.
Definitely interesting. Definitely more of an out there list. But if this appeals to you, I would suggest checking it out. It's a really cool deck. I lost to it in a tournament, and part of that was my fault, but part of it was also the fact that my opponent was pretty tight on the plays. I think we had like a serious punt apiece where one of us just missed something or misclicked. So. I'll try and remember to link the video in the description so we can point people that way. But yeah, that's Zuberas.
We should make more video content, while we're on the subject. Let's do it again.
We should.
Let's do it. I got my computer pretty much set up now in my house, so we'll do it.
Yeah. I'll have to join in voice only since, plane tickets are expensive.
Yeah.
All right.
We should also say that Alex Ullman has started streaming, and he's, we link to him whenever he's live. Throwing that out there.
I've been having a good time. I go in there and give him a little bit of grief, but out of love, Alex, out of love.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Before we move to our discussion topic, I do want to bring up something real quickly here because there's a whole bunch of stuff that I completely forgot about. We have playmats now.
Oh crap, man! How did we forget that? Happy anniversary, everyone!
So we have entered into a small and legally binding contract with Inked Gaming. They make playmats with our logo on it, and if you want one, go for it. We make next to nothing on these playmats, so this is not a cheap attempt to get your money.
It's purely vanity. And that's what's so great about it. It's purely vanity. There's no money involved at all.
Yeah, no, you're giving someone else money and then carrying around a thing with our faces on it, and that's awesome.
But that's awesome. We want it.
But in all seriousness, if you get one, please, if you're on Twitter, just shoot us a picture of you holding the playmat, because that'd be real cool. And
yeah, that would make my week, my month, my life. I don't know. It would mean a lot to us.
Yeah, no, that, but yeah, and Inked makes great playmats. My only playmat that I routinely use is from them. It's a custom design. I love the thing to death, and their print quality is top notch. And playmats, they work.
Can I playmat brag for a sec? I don't think I've ever talked about my playmat. For Christmas one year, for Christmas every year with my girlfriend's family, which I live in Austin, my family's in Houston, so I do Christmas with them every year. I see my mom too. Don't worry. I hear you all shaking your heads out there. But we do an elf gift exchange, like a Secret Santa gift exchange. It's on Elfster, which is why I said elf. And so the first year I played, I got Liz's sister-in-law, who is a very talented local artist. Wild Air Co. if you're into really naturey stuff. But she knew I loved Guar, and so she did a original Guar art masterpiece for me with like all these members of the band, and made me like a printout for it. And she also got me an Inked Gaming playmat with it on it too, which is really awesome. But my story doesn't end there. You think that's as awesome as it's going to get? Custom Guar artwork, best band on earth, super fan playmat. You think you're set, but no. I took it to a concert and I got it signed by everyone in the band, and it is my favorite. It's like the pride of my Magic collection.
Yeah, I can confirm, pretty sweet.
Yeah. So Inked Gaming, good stuff is what we're getting at.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Finally getting onto our discussion topic. We got an email. Just one, but we did get an email, and it is from Mike, whose last name I'm not gonna say.
That's very nice of you. It's from you.
Yeah. This is definitely my own question to myself, so that I could pretend that people like us. All right. Longtime listener, and love the show, especially now that it comes out earlier Sundays so I can listen at work. I love playing Pauper and primarily play Affinity. I'm wondering what you guys think about Gitaxian Probe and Affinity. The pros I see are deck thinning, perfect information which could help when looking to fling/race, and it takes up slots of some of the less useful slots of things like Perilous Research, Wellspring, third or fourth drum, maybe a land. The downside is less total artifacts for ATOG/Affinity and the 2 life, but I don't find myself winning games where I'm at 2 life very often. It's usually more lopsided than that. Another con could be drawing multiple copies, but maybe running 3 may be better than 4. I'm interested in your input. I would also be interested and very happy if you guys did an episode on Affinity. Good luck. Side note, we already did one of those super early, and we will link it in the description.
We could do another one, though. I'm always down.
True. Although you haven't played the deck in a while, I don't know if you're too rusty on that. But
don't even joke about that. I played it just recently in Pauperpalooza, and I'm an enfranchised Affinity player. My deck's all foil, so I'm good.
That's true. And then the email ends with, "Thank you in advance for taking the time to read this and respond. Keep up the great work." Well, we'll certainly keep up the work. Gitaxian Probe.
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions about this. As Affinity was my bread and butter. I came here from Modern with that. I've won, a lot of tournaments with that. I got opinions. Let's hear yours first, though.
My opinions as an outsider is Gitaxian Probe is only a good card, very rarely in Pauper, and I'll get into it later. But Adrian, you're the master. Why don't you like it?
I do not think cutting artifacts in Affinity is a good idea. That's like why the deck is so strong, is because you're running all these artifacts. And I think by playing Probe, you're diluting that a little, especially if you're considering cutting a land or Springleaf Drum. Affinity's biggest problem is its inconsistent mana. And if you're denying yourself access to any of that, even Darksteel Citadels, I don't care, you're really hampering that deck. The games I lose with Affinity are the games I don't draw the color I need, or the games I'm stuck on one land for, 4 turns. I think that's very hard to ask that deck to give up any of its mana, especially for a card that doesn't really contribute to its overall game plan, which is exactly why they play things like Perilous Research and Wellspring. Wellspring, I agree, is not as good as Prophetic Prism. I actually don't really like Wellsprings in my deck. So I think cutting the Perilous Research Wellspring package is actually pretty defensible, but not for Gitaxian Probe. You should be playing like more threats or extra copy of Fling or Lightning Bolt. I actually do like some of the decks that have run Lightning Bolt in the main. I've been very fond of running some on my sideboard, but I just don't think Gitaxian Probe is where we're at.
Yeah, and that kind of takes us into our discussion topic for today, which is mistakes, I guess, in Pauper. Things that look good on the outset, but as soon as you sort of get down and crunch the numbers, might not be as good as you originally thought.
They're the reverse clams. They're hard on the inside and soft on the outside. Doesn't make any sense.
That's a peach or any other stone fruit.
I know, but I don't know. I'm just I don't know what I'm doing here. All right, cut. That'll be my trailer. I'm gonna keep going.
So we're gonna start off with Gitaxian Probe and Manamorphose, and I remember seeing a thread on a subreddit for Magic that was, I think it was the main Magic subreddit, and it was someone asking, why don't I start every single deck with green or red mana with 4 copies of Gitaxian Probe and 4 copies of Manamorphose? They're free cards. It makes it so I can run a 52 card deck.
What was the answer?
Well, the answer is you're cutting cards that might actually win you the game for cards that do nothing. And there is kind of a real deck building cost to that, like this Mike who sent in this question is talking about cutting a land from a deck that runs how many lands? 18?
Yeah, if even that sometimes.
Yeah, and that's really not where you want to be. There is a real cost to running Gitaxian Probe and Manamorphose in your deck. And while it certainly doesn't look that way on the outset, trust me, in practice, there very much is. And the upside you're getting is not huge. Like, how many times have you been gotten on a fling?
Like gotten it countered?
Where your opponent did something that made your fling not lethal and you had to scoop the game.
Oh, it's pretty rare. Generally, when that's happening, you're already about to lose the game and you're like desperation flinging.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like, you know, if your opponent has blue mana up and you're in game one, if it's just one blue mana, you know, I feel like you're pretty safe from Dispel. You go for it.
Well, I mean, it's a blue mana is the worst. There are some times where like I forgot to play around like oh man, what's the card called? Prismatic Strands, and that kind of sucked. Like that happened to me like once maybe. But generally, if I'm losing the game after I fling, it's because I had to go for it. My opponent had an answer, but like I had to go for it.
Yeah,
you know?
and like, and in some colors, I like in green, you know, maybe they get you occasionally with a feed the clan for 10, but I don't know.
My best affinity achievement was flinging in response to a lethal fling. Have I ever told you that? You were there.
Yeah, I was right next to you, and I got to watch someone realize that flinging is an instant and it can be done in response to another one.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's probably one of my favorite endings to a game. But yeah.
So the basic gist of it is Gitaxian Probe gives you two things. It gives you a free redraw, and on top of that, it provides you with some information. But what we're getting at here is in Affinity, for example, that information is not worth giving up cards that will actually advance your game in a meaningful way. Just don't do it. And with Manamorphose, it only goes in red and green decks, and a lot of those in Pauper are monocolored. Like, you know, you're not really Manamorphosing in Elves to hit your distant melodies. Please don't do that. Please, just stop it.
Yeah. They're real deck building costs.
Yeah. I think I'm done on that particular one. What's the next one on our list?
Land grant? Are we talking about land grant?
Yeah, we are.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah. So land grant is a card that you can play and you can reveal it from your hand and you'll get a forest out of your deck. That's really what people use it for. We don't like it because it cuts the chance of you drawing more land. You know, it's cool in your opener, but you know, it gives away very real information. You have to reveal your whole hand to do it. And the note that Mike made here is it is not bad in Elves, which is true because you have a bunch of dorks and, you know, you can just play them for mana off of the forest, but you know, it's not always good to be playing land grant.
Yeah. And the other side of that in Elves is how many Elves actually really affect the board in a meaningful way. Like Lissalana Huntmaster, Timberwatch, and, you know, if they've got Well-Wisher.
Vanguard.
Oh, yeah, Vanguard. But it gives your opponent enough information where instead of becoming this deck that combos out of nowhere, you're a deck with a very, very identifiable combo point. And because of that, you know, your opponent, the information isn't going to win them the game. But if, you know, the game comes down to, you know, if they counter this but not this, I'm good. They're not going to do that if they can see a path for it. I think that land grant in Elves is a straight up trap. And technically, like, yes, it does mean that you're more likely to draw into action because each one of your lands functionally is taking 2 cards out of your deck. But man, there's a real cost there. You're not Belcher in Legacy, right?
Right. You're not winning that turn.
Yeah. And apart from that, like, there's not really much more complexity to this one. Like, you're giving your opponent a free Gitaxian Probe, and you're slimming a percentage of a percent off the next land, your next draw being a land. I don't know. Not the best at math, but that doesn't feel right to me.
Right.
Um, next on the list is one that we've talked about before. It's Brainstorm. This card isn't good in our format.
No.
Like,
it's you can I do like it as a 2 of in that you are Delver list, but only because that deck plays some stuff that can make it good, like Ash Barrens.
All right, so let me hit you with this. I still think it's bad.
Do you even not like it in
There's one place I like it, and it's a
Delver
jank deck. Actually, Angler Delver, I can excuse it in because you do have a bunch of ways to get those 2 cards off the top of your deck.
Is the other one Turbo Fog?
Yeah, and that's because it serves a very particular purpose in the fact that it draws 3 and puts 2 back on top. So so for those who don't know, Brainstorm is blue, instant, draw 3, put 2 cards from your hand back on top of your library. And the reason why people seem to think this is good is it's really good in Legacy. And Adrian, would you mind elucidating on why this is good?
You have fetch lands in Legacy where the land comes in untapped, which is a key point. And so you can put back 2 cards that suck and then shuffle them away, and then you have your draws are good again.
Yeah, and we don't have that.
Well, we do. There's just a much higher cost than because the lands don't come into play tapped. Both ways that we have of doing that cost mana. Whereas in Legacy, the fetch land's free, So like that's fine. But here you have to either pay a mana cycle on Ash Barrens, or you have to use Evolving Wilds where the land will come into play tap, or Terramorphic Expanse. The reason
and on top of that, it only fetches basics.
Right. You can't get duels, which is a big deal. And in Angler Delver, you can, Thought Scour them away or something, so that's fine.
Yeah, and to speak to the idea of like if you can shuffle your deck, the Brainstorm becomes better. Like, is Brainstorm for 2 feels like paying 2 mana to Brainstorm efficiently feels a lot worse. Also, like if you have a fetch in your opener, you're basically admitting like, okay, I'm willing to take turn 2 off in order to make this Brainstorm a little bit better. And
maybe that's fine in like the late game, but which is why I kind of do like the 2 of. But yeah, also a thing I do like about the UR Delver list too that it can do is you can have a fetch out, gush, return 2 islands, Brainstorm, and then shuffle away those 2 islands. Like I do like that. Like, that's cool.
That's fair. With gush and excess islands that you don't need to play, it does feel a little bit better if you can shuffle it away because you are getting kind of free redraws.
But by and large, I agree. Brainstorm is not that good. You have to do a lot of work to make it work in your deck.
Now, let me hit you with this. If Brainstorm discarded those 2 from your hand, it would be a lot better in our format.
Right. Well, because what they call it getting Brainstorm locked. You just have 2 dead draws on the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a good place to be at all. So, yeah, we don't have actual fetches. As a result, Brainstorm is worse. And even when you do have a fetch for it, you're functionally taking a turn off in the early game. And, oh, man, like, if your turn 2 is Brainstorming and, like, shuffling away 2 cards and your opponent's turn 2 was Burning Tree Emissary and another card, maybe 2, you are losing that race by so much.
Yeah.
The last one is a tricky one, and I didn't put enough notes on this. Cracking fetches when you need to make more land drops.
Oh no, I get it.
Yeah. Do you want to tackle some of the reasoning behind this?
Right. So if you are cracking a fetch land and you're getting a land out of your deck, you're decreasing your chances of drawing another land.
Yup.
Right? I mean, I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah, no. That's the entire gist of this note of maybe you're doing this wrong. Let me hit you with this.
People say that deck thinning doesn't matter. Doesn't that go both ways?
All right, let me hit you with this. It does on a very minor level, and I don't think this is one of the ones on our list that I think is I don't want to say the least wrong, but has the least perceptible difference. So let's say you're, and it again requires you to kind of go back to the idea of playing to your outs. So let's say, you're on 3 mana as, let's go with Dimir Flicker, the blue-black Flicker control deck. And you have 2 pieces of removal in your hand, or removal and a counter. And you have 3 lands and you have a fetch, and it's the end of your opponent's turn. You don't really need to hit 5 mana right away. You're fine cracking that fetch. So that way next turn you can, use a piece of removal and hold up a counterspell on your opponent's turn. I think that's fine. But if, you're at 4 and one of them's a fetch and you have a Muldrifter you'd really like to resolve, it is not a good idea to crack that fetch right away. Because you are minutely removing chances of you drawing into your 5th land. So not a huge thing. It is a very minor percentages thing. And I was talking about this with some people, and the topic of Renegade map was brought up. For those who don't remember either Revolt, Renegade map is 1 artifact, comes into play tapped, and you tap and sacrifice it, tutor up a basic, and put it into your hand.
That one's bad because it's a spell.
Well, that one's bad because it's a spell, but the interesting thing about it is because it goes to the hand and it doesn't cost mana, if you are flooded, if you already have a bunch of lands, you do it before, you can do it on your upkeep to take a land out of the deck and increase your chances of drawing into action. But if you need to draw lands, you can wait until your main phase after you've drawn in the hopes that you draw land naturally. So interesting kind of counterpoint to this.
Yeah, I guess because then it doesn't come into play tap, so that's cool.
Yeah. But these are just like 4 examples of things. Like the Gitaxian Probe Manamorphose thing is the one that bothers me the most because it is a super easy trap to fall into. It's like, you want to play 60 cards in your deck because that gives you the highest probability of seeing cards you want on a routine basis. I mean, we play tutors in formats because it lets you get the card that you need. And with Manamorphose and Gitaxian Probe, you look at them and you go, well, I can just cut cards, and that way I can run, a 52 card deck at very little cost. And in reality, there is a cost.
A heckin' big cost.
A heckin' big cost. 1 out of 10 would not pet. Dog jokes. But this has been the color commentary. Maybe stop doing this segment. Any other don't do thises?
Don't be a jerk to your opponent.
Yeah. Seriously.
Well, please don't do it. It's not nice. Someone has to lose the game.
And we've said this before on the show, like, be kind to your fellow human being. Like, not to get overly sentimental here, it's our 1-year anniversary. We hope that we've inspired at least one person to, be a decent human being at a magic shop. Please.
You inspiring, please.
Yeah. All right. It's coming up a little close to an hour.
Is it MSU time?
Is it MSU? Okay. Yeah, it is. It is time for a segment that we have adopted here.
Yeah, that stands for. It stands for Magic State University is what that stands for.
So this is main deck sideboard unplayable, wherein I subject my co-host to look at 3 cards. He describes them, and then he chooses which one of these beings, I will use that term since they're not always people, which one of these beings he would like to spend some quality time with.
All right, I'm ready.
And this time I've got a theme. They're not all from Ravnica though.
Oh.
So I know.
Whoa.
Sexiest
All
planet
right,
in the multiverse.
I'll deal. You didn't do last week. We also didn't have Ravnikins.
I
had
know.
non-Ravnikins.
But this one we've got a theme, and I hope you'll appreciate the effort that quote unquote effort I put into it.
Okay, I will. All right, I'm ready.
All right, go for it, buddy.
All right. Scrolling down. I can't get it to focus. Hold on. All right. Okay, so we have Nissa. She's a planeswalker. She's an elf. She's got a glowing thing in her hand. It's actually Sage Animist, if you guys want to look up the art. A beautiful elven maid, clad in the regality of the forest, perches atop appears to be a large log and gazes longingly into the distance, thinking of the realms of her homelands that once were. Up next, we have Chandra Ablaze, what appears to be the fire visage of a young Ifrita, perhaps scorching her way through the desert, goggles held high and her face twisted into the grimace of the war call of her genie species. And then we have Kiora, Master of the Depths. We see before us a buxom, man, the art on some of these. Mermaid woman perched atop what appears to be a gigantic squid arm. She has a bident in her hand, perhaps the bident of Thassa, and is clad in what would appear to be chitin armor.
Yeah. I believe that is actually the Biden of Thassa, because she does steal it in the story and take it with her to Zendikar.
A large gem in her forehead. Is Kiora in the Guardians of the Gatewatch or the Gatewatch?
Guardians of the Gatewatch.
Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy commercials.
Yeah, they've been everywhere, haven't they? I don't think she's actually formally part of the Gatewatch. I think she just kind of, tags along on some quests.
This is absolutely no contest. You should know who my biggest Magic the Gathering crush is. It is, of course, Chandra Ablaze.
So Chandra's going to be the main deck. Sideboard is...
We're going to make it Nissa, and then playable will be Kiora.
Why no love for Kiora?
It's the squid, dude. It's a squid.
It's the giant kraken. It's a little bit intimidating.
Actually, hold on. Let me take that back. I'm going to take that back. And you know why? I thought of something. I don't know a lot about Kiora, but this is not very nice. I'm gonna go with Kiora.
I mean, are you talking pre or post retcon where they made her not come from the land of racist elves?
I was thinking pre. I didn't realize they had changed her to be not a racist elf.
Yeah, no, they retconned that one pretty hard, but I don't know. I feel like, with Kiora, there's an air of mystery. We don't know that much about her. We know that she likes stealing stuff.
She's a mystery. She's a woman after my own heart. She's going to be my sideboard. All
right, there we go. So you've chosen who you're going to take out on a date. How about you take us out of the show, buddy?
Yeah, thanks for joining us. That bit is so good. The podcast is brought to you by the support of our patrons. Consider supporting us if you like the show. Check below this video or the description of this podcast for details on where to find us. We'd like to remind you that if you're listening to this on a platform with reviews, they're always appreciated as they boost our visibility. If you've got a deck list or an idea for a topic, feel free to contact us either via our website or by emailing us directly at colorcommentary@gmail.com. Special thanks to Pat's Games and L. Till next week, this is Adrian and Mike, and we are signing off for Color Commentary.